Auschwitz, 1944. German officers and guards have fun while countless victims are killed and cremated daily in the nearby death camp. In the 1960s, Boeing nearly went bankrupt before realizing it needed to carry more passengers on smaller planes. Leather welder's mask, 1930s. A Chinese suicide bomber puts on a vest with hand grenades before charging a Japanese tank. Shandong Province, spring 1938. The day Dad finally came home. Gunner Hector Murdoch had been a POW in Singapore for over 4 years. His wife Rosina and son John didn't know if he was alive. On his birthday in 1945, he finally returned. Men in shorts and cowboy boots serving women at a gas station in Texas, 1940s. Maintenance of Unit 1 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, USSR, 1980s. These frames once symbolized progress. Now they serve as a haunting reminder of the tragedy that followed. During the Jinkai Marathon, Kenyan runner Jacqueline Kiplimo slowed down to help a disabled athlete drink water at hydration points, running with him for 28 kilometers. Because of this, she finished second but did not regret her actions. Egyptians try Pepsi Cola, Cairo, 1946. Walking the Mummies, Italy, 1950. In 1996, at New Delhi Airport, a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747 and a Kazakh Il-76 collided. Both flights were on the same route but in opposite directions, and the pilots failed to communicate their intentions in time because they could not speak English. The crash killed 349 passengers and crew. In 1939, mills in the United States began shipping flour in colorful sacks. This was done so that the poor could later sew clothes from the sackcloth. In the summer of 2009, over 20,000 dogs were killed in the Chinese province of Shanxi by government order. Earlier in 1983, a special decree was passed in Beijing to destroy all domestic animals as they polluted the environment. Even earlier, domestic cats and dogs were declared symbols of uselessness and were destroyed. The Tree of Death, one of the most infamous places. During World War II, the Nazis hanged partisans from this tree, and later partisans hung Nazi occupiers here. Unusual dog transport method, Paris, 1920s. In 1925, a Belgian merchant, unable to sell his dresses, draped his entire house with them overnight. The police arrived, the town watched, and the dresses quickly sold out. India vaulted from the Middle Ages into the future thanks to the USSR. In 1981, India successfully launched its first satellite from its own soil, but because of a lack of specialized vehicles, the rocket and satellite components had to be transported on bullock carts. A man in Durban rides a bus designated for white passengers as a protest against South Africa's apartheid policy, 1986. Quadruplers from the 1930s. 1945, France. A French woman is publicly shamed and has her head shaved for having a relationship with a German soldier. Strength test of a pipe. The inventor sits inside. Canada, 1920. The last puff of a young man about to be buried alive by Japanese soldiers in Nanjing, China, 1938. Women cooking in a half-destroyed oven. Belarus, World War II, 1942. Former prisoners of the German concentration camp demonstrate the torture methods they endured. Germany, 1945. Mass strike of African Americans and equality supporters, Tennessee, 1968. Human hair in the German concentration camp Auschwitz, 1944. Korean soldier Yang Kyung-jong, who fought for 3 armies during War, Japan, the Soviet Union, and Germany. Sophia Loren in an advertisement for marinated anchovies, USA, 1951. Firefighters seal off an oil well during firefighting efforts in Kuwait oil fields, 1991. During World War I, cats were kept in trenches to warn of gas attacks in advance. During World War II, they were taken aboard submarines as live air quality detectors. As long as we have beer and tobacco, we are not afraid of the enemy's scum. We will endure. German postcard from World War I, 1916. Johnny Depp's 1994 arrest after he trashed a hotel room while trying to kill a cockroach. The interior design of a train more than 100 years ago. When asked about his health at 70, playwright Bernard Shaw complained that doctors kept predicting his death because he didn't eat meat. At 90, he quipped, "I'm doing fine. All those doctors who said I couldn't survive without meat are dead now." A dissatisfied Pole exchanges devalued banknotes after a denomination. After the exchange, he will receive 1 new banknote instead of 10,000 old ones, 1995. In 1954, 19-month-old Michael wandered out of his yard. His tiny footprints led straight to the vast, unforgiving Pacific Ocean. The parents' hope quickly turned to heartbreaking despair. The first cryopreservation of a human being, USA, 1967. Humanity had long sought a way to immortality, and in the progressive 1960s it created the technology to freeze a deceased person in hopes of preventing decomposition, with the hope of reviving them in the future. The first person to undergo cryopreservation was James Bedford, who died in 1967 at the age of 73. In the era of the Great Depression, homeless Americans were forced to live in Hoovervilles, shantytowns named to mock President Hoover. The middle class virtually disappeared. Unemployment soared to 25%, and prices for farm goods dropped by nearly half. Wrestler Adrian Street with his father, a coal miner, 1973. Darwin made lists of pros and cons for marriage before his wedding. The pros list included constant companion and better than a dog. The cons list included having to visit relatives and less money to buy books. Mother and child cooking in gas masks. French Village, WWI. Survivors from the British steamship Titanic disembarking onto the Carpathia, 1912. Inside someone's locket, 1940s. The Statue of Liberty, while temporarily assembled in Paris, France, 1885. A pigeon with a miniature camera for aerial shots, 1907. Cancer treatment equipment, mid-20th century. The iceberg photographed the day after the Titanic sank. There is a high probability that it was the cause of the sinking. Testifying against the mob in open court, a high-stakes moment in the USA, 1933. Annie Jones, a bearded woman who worked her whole life in the circus. Her mother sold her into it when she was just 3 years old. When Soviet scientists created the world's first controlled thermonuclear fusion reactor and reached plasma temperatures of 10 million degrees, human zoos still existed in Europe, 1954. A former concentration camp prisoner selects glasses from a pile taken from inmates. 1945, Poland, Nazi concentration camp, Auschwitz. Strongman Galen Goff lets a truck drive over him at a California stadium, 1935. Men from the Babira tribe. They believed that twisting the upper lip in such a manner was very beautiful and attractive to women. Belgian Congo, 1924. Artist Marc Monnier draws during the Persian Gulf War, 1991, Kuwait. The real Inglorious Bastards. After WP, most Nazis responsible for the Holocaust escaped punishment, but this group of Jewish men tracked them down for years across different continents and carried out vigilante justice on several hundred Nazis. A mother teaches her children. Louisiana, USA, 1937. Beatlemania, a mass hysteria that swept through fans of the Beatles. In this 1963 photo, girls scream, cry, and reach out to their idols in pure ecstasy, barely able to hear the music over the deafening noise. One of the last photos of Michael Rockefeller, who was seen entertaining a cannibalistic New Guinea tribe, disappeared without a trace during an expedition to New Guinea in 1961, and his body was never found. Chimpanzee Jiggs shares the boredom of a shooting day with actress Dorothy Lamour, 1938. The Perfect Plane Crash, Nobody Died, United Kingdom, 1960. Napoleon, the mascot of the French artillery during the Battle of Verdun, France, World War I, 1916. The dummy of ventriloquist Lester, accused of killing 3 people, USA, 1924. During the performance, 3 elderly women literally died of laughter. Women in wooden swimsuits designed to help them float better, 1929. Russian inmate identifies a cruel camp guard at Buchenwald, 1945. Wartime improvisation, 1942. Stockings were scarce in Wabitau, so women painted lines down their legs to fake the look. A decoy artillery position set up by the Germans during the defense of Tsingtao, 1914. Strange, but apparently such methods actually worked. French resistance members parade women through the streets of Cherbourg for having relations with Germans during the occupation, World War II. A shocking image from 1959 USA, a small child holding a racist sign. It serves as a stark reminder of how hate can be taught from a young age. An elephant from a Belgian zoo is forced to work on a farm during World War I, 1915. A military trick by German General Leto Vorbeck. The youngest soldier, at the end of the line, jumps into an elephant's foot, trampling the tracks. German East Africa, World War I, around 1914. Babies who lost their parents during the Vietnam War are airlifted to the USA for adoption, 1975. During World War II, the Soviet Army trained suicide dogs intended to destroy enemy tanks. Hungry dogs were trained to find food under mock tanks. In combat, the dogs were strapped with explosives and sent under approaching tanks, where they were supposed to die. U.S., 1951. Prettiest Legs Contest. Women wore pillowcases over their heads to keep the focus on their legs. This is a bulletproof vest from 1881, used in combat and blocked 18 bullets. Student Training in Sexuality Enhancement Courses, Japan, 1983. Taken in 1900 in Évreux, France. School children are seen drinking beer, wine, or cider. Until 1956, these drinks were considered healthy and were actually part of school dietary norms. A German woman facing public humiliation because of a romantic affair with a Polish man, 1942. English language sign "Here was Forge" installed at the ruins of the city of Forges-les-Eaux, almost completely destroyed during World War I, France, 1917. British artilleryman, Kent, UK, 1940. An air raid caught an amateur theater troupe during rehearsal with no time to change into uniforms. In 1730, French pirate Olivier Levasseur was sentenced to the gallows. Before his execution, he unexpectedly threw a note with a cryptogram into the crowd, shouting, "Find my treasures if you can." The treasure has never been found. In 1954, American Don Pointer introduced whiskey-flavored toothpaste. With 3% alcohol content, it quickly gained popularity among liquor enthusiasts. World's largest woman and smallest man, July 1922. Nellie Lane weighed 641 lbs. Clarence Howerton weighed 2 lbs at age 9. The FBI feared that an intimate encounter between Marilyn Monroe and John F. Kennedy was captured on a secret tape. While the footage has never been made public and the FBI denies JFK's presence, rumors of its existence have persisted for decades. At the start of a combined race of dogs and women, USA, 1927. A Vietnamese child and his father who was accused of aiding North Vietnamese partisans, 1966. 19-year-old Shigeki Tanaka survived the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and later won the 1951 Boston Marathon. The crowd at the finish line was silent. The boldest necklines of the 1950s. A taxi with the sign, "For colored people only," early 1960s. U.S. delegate displays a Soviet submachine gun captured by American forces in July 1950 at the UN Security Council, accusing the USSR of supplying weapons to North Korea. How Hiroshima has changed since 1945. A Ukrainian immigrant establishment in New York offering free borscht to celebrate Stalin's death, March 6, 1953. Pro-Khomeini militia fighters patrol the streets looking for the Arab population. Khorramshahr, Iran, 1979. A liberated prisoner from the Ebensee concentration camp in Austria, 1945. In 1925, Coca-Cola released a souvenir keychain in the shape of a swastika. Before the Nazis, the swastika in the US, as in India, symbolized good luck. Soldiers of the Potomac Army fight over a bottle of wine during the Civil War, Virginia, 1863. In the late 20th century in the DPRK, North Korea, there was a famine that claimed, according to official data, from 10,000 to 3 million lives. Newspaper headlines read on a train to Stamford, Connecticut, the day after John F. Kennedy's assassination, November 23, 1963. In 1913, 19-year-old student Terry Williams invented mascara by mixing soot with Vaseline. If today it's the Beatles, then what will tomorrow bring? Christian rally against the Beatles, California, 1966. A temporary morgue at the Seguro Social Baseball Stadium in Mexico. One of the most destructive earthquakes in American history occurred in 1985, killing 10,000 people and injuring 30,000. Sparked a reaction. Whether good or bad, I'd love to read your comments below. Get ready for the next installment very soon. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Catch you later.